Hi everyone, welcome to part 2 of Pixelated Memories, where some of us share some of our fondest gaming memories. Don't forget to check out part 1. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, leave a comment, share with the world. Happy gaming.
When I was 16, 17 years old, I played this thing explicitly and exclusively. In fact, me and my friends used to take time off sixth form college and go around to one of my other friends' house and play this thing on multiplayer for hours on GoldenEye and WCW just to see who was the best. As an adult, I love this thing so much I have 3 of them. But back then, my brother had the PlayStation and I hated that thing. It was grey and dull and CD powered and pretty cack in my opinion. But all that changed one day when I saw him playing a little known car game that went on to become one of Sony's key exclusive titles. Had amazing sound, fantastic graphics and realistic feeling controls even on the difficult D-pad. I knew fine well that there would never be a game like it on the N64 due to the restrictions of the cartridge. That game was Gran Turismo 2. So you start off with some dodgy used piece of trash car with enough power to get you around the track a few times, complete some driving tests to get your racing licenses and away you go. And thus opens up the selection of cars, brimming to the top, quite literally, with 650 cars, completely unheard of in the year 2000. It was my aspiration to own the various Nissan Skylines and upgrade them to an inch of their life. And in the later game, I wanted to own the Jaguar XJ220, which cost a fortune. And you know what? I got it, and I painted it yellow. It was brutally fast and really hard to control, but that was it for me. And from that point on, my gaming life became a place of dualism, a place where I could have the best of both worlds. And GT2, I want to say thanks for showing me that new attitude, and one that I've never looked back on.
Hello there, this is Luke from the Socially Distanced Gamer on YouTube, and when I was approached to appear in this video and give my favourite game from the PS1, Sega Saturn or N64 era, or at least one of my greatest memories, one of the first games that jumped into my mind was Castlevania Symphony of the Night for the PlayStation 1, although it was also on the Sega Saturn, I believe, but I never did play that version. This game, to me, is one of the greatest of its type ever made, if not the greatest. It did obviously create, alongside Super Metroid, the Metroidvania subgenre that we see used so often now in fantastic games like Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, Hollow Knight, Guacamelee. The list goes on really, and it really started, I think, with Castlevania Symphony of the Night. As a Sega kid growing up with a Sega Mega Drive and the Game Gear, I'd never really experienced Castlevania. I know that there was a Castlevania game on the system, but I'd never had it myself. New Generation or Bloodlines, depending on where you're from. So I didn't really have any kind of basis to rank the game against, or any reason to really pick it up other than I thought that the box art was really cool. I still remember getting the game. At the time I had braces, and this was bought for me by my dad in Burnley, my hometown in Lancashire, after I finally had my braces removed, basically, at my orthodontist, which was something that had been quite a stressful time for me, because braces are not the coolest thing to have on when you're a kid at high school, so it was a great moment for me to finally dispense with those. And as a reward, I suppose, for putting up with the train track comments that I'd kind of suffered, my dad got me Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Well, he allowed me to pick a game, and that's what I went with. What a game. I had no idea what to expect. It just has everything. It's the atmosphere that's created in the castle itself, the great characters, the fact that you get you think you've finished the game. Spoilers, you haven't. The entire castle inverts upon itself, and you have to basically replay the game with the level and map totally upside down. The fact that they made the game in that way, with the map able to do that and still function with you walking effectively on the ceiling, it's just incredible game design. It's the standard kind of Metroidvania template that you might be used to now. It's going along the map, picking up upgrades, making your way by backtracking to areas you previously couldn't access due to your new abilities and items that you've got. It's just perfect game design, and the music is fantastic. It's this sort of jazz funk soundtrack, which is really original. It's an unbelievable game. I can't recommend it highly enough to anybody. I think regardless of how you feel about Castlevania, or if you've ever encountered the franchise before, make sure you get it. It was recently re-released on the PlayStation 4 in the Legacy Collection, I think it's called, or Requiem Collection, sorry, which comes with Rondo of Blood, which was a game that was sort of the prequel to this. Fantastic game, one of the very best on the system, and for me, big comment, but one of the greatest video games ever made.
Hello everyone, Simon here from Super Nerds Gaming, and I am talking about the Sega Saturn today, thanks to Budget Nostalgia Nerd for adding me in on this. And the Sega Saturn means an absolute lot to me. It was my first console that I owned for myself. So my first console was the Mega Drive, but the first console that was actually mine, that was bought for me, specifically for me for Christmas, was the Sega Saturn. And I kind of knew it was the losing party to the PlayStation, but I was a Sega kid and I was so loyal to Sega, I was willing to stick it out. But one of the games that I got for the Sega Saturn that absolutely blew my mind and was absolutely fantastic is Burning Rangers. Now this is quite a pricey game these days. The numbers are quite all over the place and that. I picked it up a while back for I think about £60 or something. It might have been a bit low, it might have been £50. I had to have it back in my collection because in my youth I got rid of my Sega Saturn for a stupid price with the amount of games that I had with it, including this one. So when I became a collector again, I had to get this one. But it's absolutely fantastic game. It's got an anime kind of intro to it with the Burning Rangers rescuing people. It's got a kick-ass soundtrack to it. And it's one of the most fantastic looking games on the Sega Saturn. There's a lot of clipping to it with the graphics and that, because it is really pushing that machine on its 3D-ness of what it can do. But it's so worth playing. It's such a fantastic game and I really couldn't recommend it enough. If you are getting a Saturn and you can get a copy of this, either the English PAL version or I think the Japanese version might be cheap, get it. Fantastic game, Burning Rangers.
So, a memory that stands out to me about the PlayStation 1 era, I think I'll have to go with Silent Hill. I remember buying that game, or actually I might not have bought it, I think someone bought me that game for Christmas or my birthday or something. Yeah, I was way too young when I received it, but you know, times were different back then. And I remember putting it on and it scaring the living shit out of me. And took the disc out, put it back in the case, put it on my shelf and just did not touch it for a long time. Eventually I put it back in my console and again it scared the crap out of me and I didn't touch it for a very long time again. I think I must have owned the game for about a year until I actually sat down and tried to play it properly. And when I did, wow. I mean, I played Silent Hill before I played the first Resident Evil because that scared me even more. And it was the game that got me into survival horror. It truly is one of the greatest games I've ever played. Contrary to popular belief, I actually think most of the Silent Hill games are really good. The only one I don't like is the one on the PSP. But yeah, Silent Hill on the PlayStation 1 for me is absolutely fantastic. I honestly don't think it gets much better than Silent Hill. Apart from all the Resident Evil games, obviously, because they're just amazing.
Hey guys, it's Rachel here, and in this video I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite games that I grew up playing, and that is Crash Bandicoot Warped. This game came out in 1998 for PlayStation 1. When I tell you I played this game every day after school when I was a child, I literally did. It is crazy fun. Basically, the story for this game is the Great Uka Uka breaks free and he is teaming up with Dr. Neo Cortex to collect these gems and crystals for this ultimate scheme to get power, basically. And your job is to play as Crash, Coco, and Aku Aku to get the crystals before them. So the main premise, you travel using this time machine to different levels and stages. You can play as Crash or Coco depending on the level, and each level is packed with puzzles, challenges, and different bonus stages that you use to get these cool prizes in the game, and it is so much fun. I really enjoy Crash Bandicoot. I think he's a fun, cool character. I love his friend Aku Aku, who also grants you invisibility and gives you guidance in the game. I think he's super cool. Also, Coco has some fun levels where she gets to race using one of her vehicle machines or race on the tiger. I really love that level. And the water levels are so amazing. Because if you haven't played Crash Bandicoot Warped, it is super fun. You won't regret it. It's filled with fun gameplay, funny characters like Crash and Psychic Aku Aku. It has great boss battles as well if you're into challenging boss fights, and it's super fun.
I was late to the 32-bit party myself, having been raised on a diet of 8-bit, so it was as late as 2001, right as the next generation of consoles started arriving in stores, that I got my first real experience of a PlayStation game. A friend of mine had a PS1, you know, the budget compact one, and it was on this that we used to play Ronaldo v Football. Now, if you know me, I hate football games, but this was the only two-player game we had, so I put aside my disdain for the genre, and I was pleasantly surprised. Published by Infogrames in 2000, it's the only game to be endorsed by Ronaldo himself, and it's about what you'd expect from a footy game, offering friendlies, tournaments and knockouts in a single and two-player modes, except all served up with a little extra charm and character. You've got 176 international teams to choose from, some of which feature the names of actual players. See, I would always play as Brazil if I could, because it would be rude not to, but also because rumour had it that it was the easiest team to play as, but I'm not really sure if that was actually true. There's of course the usual team options to tinker about with before you begin, as well as a huge selection of stadiums, but you can just dispense with all that rubbish and play on, because it's immensely playable right from the off. The controls are nice and simple, and on the easy setting there's enough assistance for dirty casuals like me. Scoring is even more satisfying thanks to the action replay feature, which lets you rewatch your cannonball from the 18-yard line over and over again from all angles, so you can really lord it over your mates. It's telling that I've never gotten into another footy game since this one. This game comes from a time just before every FIFA became a turgid, dull carbon copy of the ones before. Thanks a lot, EA, and when the genre was evolving from top-down fare like sensible soccer, and we could start calling them soccer simulators for real. I still get a kick out of playing it today. None of the charm of my original experience has been lost in the years, and it takes me back to that exciting time when each new console generation brought great changes to the landscape, and anything seemed possible. If only today's footy titles were as vibrant and fun today as Ronaldo v Football was and still is for me.
Hello, Rich here from The Retrorectionist, and what a joy it is to have been asked by Budget Nostalgia to talk about one of my favourite memories of the PlayStation 1. And while this isn't exactly a happy memory, it is certainly a vivid one, so I hope you enjoy it. Can you enjoy someone else's memories? I don't know. In my younger years, I was always a Mega Drive fan. I loved that console. I had a massive collection of games, the jewel of which was an imported copy of Gunstar Heroes. I guess you could have called me a Sega loyalist of sorts. However, that all changed in October 1995 when I went into a local game store, and there, in one of those cabinety things, was the Sony PlayStation. I was immediately struck by its sweet 240p cinematics, its thumping CD quality techno sounds, and its minimalist yet playful design. I had to have it. That night, I began ramping up the campaign to get one, and fair play to my parents, they quickly identified the strength of feeling on the matter, and we hashed out a deal. I would get the PlayStation for Christmas on a couple of conditions. One, that would be it. No other big presents, and certainly no supplemental Christmas card cash. And two, that I would contribute to its purchase by swapping in my Mega Drive and all its games. Deal done, I was happy. Roll on Christmas morning, I made a beeline straight for the distinctly console-shaped parcel, tore off the wrapping, and there it was, the Sony PlayStation. It was only then, while I was admiring it, that my dad said, There's a free demo disc with it. Now, on the surface that sounds like a good thing, like a positive, but it made me realise that I hadn't actually requested a game. I'd been so focused on securing the PlayStation that I'd forgot about it, but surely amongst the other presents there would be a game, maybe even two, tucked away. A quick rummage through the remaining parcels revealed that that wasn't the case, and in fact I'd made a fatal error. Furthermore, as part of the deal that got me the console, I'd forgone all other major presents or supplemental cash. It was poetic justice worthy of a Twilight Zone ending. All hopes now rested on the free disc, imaginatively titled Demo 1. Now, the games on the demo disc that you could play were great. Wipeout in particular was awe-inspiring. The only problem was that I was terrible at it, and with the demo only being one lap long, I wasn't getting better anytime soon. I also liked Battle Arena to Shinden, but again, you could only play one round, and the better I got, the shorter the round was. The whole thing was incredibly frustrating. Meanwhile, I was getting phone calls from friends telling me about all the great games they'd got, and I was trying to make it sound like I hadn't gotten a game on purpose, as if I was some kind of wise and patient gaming monk, just waiting for the right opportunity to strike. However, there was one great thing about Demo 1, and that was the T-Rex tech demo. The image of that dinosaur stalking through a black abyss to a distinctly ominous soundtrack scared me at the time and remains a powerful image from my childhood. I was fascinated by it. Even though all you could do was control the camera and the T-Rex's head and mouth, it was the thing I loved most about Demo 1. I used to mash away on the buttons hoping I'd unlock some undiscovered game. I never did, but just the quest to find the undiscovered game was exciting. The T-Rex demo was not just an excellent demonstration of what the PlayStation could do graphically, but also the system's ability to create a strange and creepy atmosphere, an ambience that I still think is unique to that console alone. Anyway, a couple of weeks later, my dad did the right thing, in my opinion, and bought me my first full PlayStation game. I got Battle Arena to Shinden. It's funny that as relieved as I was at the time, and believe me, I was relieved, I don't really have any specific memories of that game, or at least nothing that compared with those cold winter nights watching an evil-eyed Tyrannosaurus Rex marching endlessly through a landscape of eternal night. So yeah, that's my PlayStation 1 memory. Thanks for listening, and I look forward to see what other people have got to say. Is that the right? I don't know, is that a decent ending? Anyway, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Hey there guys, Spexy here. For those of you that don't know me, I'm a retro gaming YouTuber, collector. I've been around since the beginning of the game console. Quite literally, I was born the very same year as the Magnavox Odyssey released to the general public, the very first home console, but that's another story, that just makes me old. Now I'd like to thank Budget Nostalgia for including me in this video and asking me a question to come up with a fond memory or a story related to the 32-bit era of gaming, or the 5th generation if you like. So picture this, it's 1995, the Sega Saturn has just released, I'm due to get a PS1 for my next birthday, but that's a few months off yet, and the N64 is on everyone's lips, or they're calling it the Ultra 64 at the time, and everyone's talking about what that means when that comes out. My story, however, has nothing to do with any of those consoles. Mine has something to do with a more obscure console, a little bit more left field if you like, something I wasn't expecting ever to own. So I wrote a letter in 1995 to a magazine called Ultimate Future Games, and they featured it as Star Letter. Now at the time I didn't know what that meant, but I soon found out that I'd won a prize, and the prize was a console. The console? The Gold Star 3DO. Something I never would have bought, I wasn't even in my mind to buy. And yeah, I'm so glad I wrote that letter because I absolutely love this console. So one of my fondest memories is actually receiving this. I got the box, I remember ripping it open, didn't know what to expect. I'd had no experience with 32-bit consoles before. I'd only had my SNES and my Mega Drive, so I'd played 3D games on the Super FX chip, like Stunt Race FX and things like that, but that's it. So this was a whole new thing for me. So I remember opening it up, looking at it and the games that came with it, and plugging it into the TV, and I was absolutely blown away. Now the first game I played on it was a game called Killing Time. Now for those of you that haven't played this, they use actual actors and then they render those in as 2D sprites in a 3D environment. So it's essentially a Doom clone, but with real people on the screen. And this was next level gaming right here. This absolutely blew my mind. Now I couldn't believe they could do this. Now I'd played Doom, but this was incredible. Now we also had games also included in the pack like D here. I had Space Hulk, which was an incredible game again, based on the Games Workshop game of the same name. We had Gex, classic platformer, available for other platforms, but it was pretty cool on the 3DO. Return Fire, fantastic little war-based tank game, great game there. Road Rash, of course, everybody knows Road Rash. 3DO version, I didn't like it as much as the Mega Drive, to be fair, but it did have nice music. Samurai Showdown, fantastic fighting game from the arcade, near arcade perfect version on the 3DO. And probably the very best version of one of my favourite fighting games ever, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Now this version of the game, in my mind, is the best version available on any 32-bit console. The music in this game absolutely blew me away because it's actually orchestral music. They're playing it on real instruments and it's coming straight off the CD. Now that was something amazing then. This game holds up much better than the PlayStation or Saturn versions. This game is incredible. For those of you that haven't played a 3DO or haven't played this version of the game, please try and do so. So there you go, guys. That is my memory, my fondest memory of the 32-bit era. Something a little bit left field, as I said. You probably wasn't expecting it. I did get a PS1. That came and went. But something I will tell you is my 3DO is still with me in my collection. As you see, I've got the games there. I have the controller here. And I also still have the console. I haven't got rid of it. It's still the same one that I had back then. So there you go. My fondest memory of the 32-bit era of games consoles is the Gold Star 3DO. See ya.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, a collection of memories from the PS1, N64, Sega Saturn era. If you did like what you hear, consider subscribing to Budget Nostalgia. All the links to everybody else's channels are in the description. And as always, happy gaming.